Thanks for tuning in to this special Saturday edition of Proline Picks on Proline TV, part of the Our Lads Football Network. I'm your host, Greg DePalma, and joining me for this Saturday edition is Mark Lawrence. How's it going, Mark?
I'm doing just terrific, Greg. I'm really looking forward to the college bowl games, the start of that finally officially here, and got a National Football League that's really winding down with some really, really tight games and a lot of playoff positioning going on. So it's really a good time to be in the world of college and pro football, no doubt about that.
Yeah, we just have to hope that these bowl games, all the hard work you put into this bowl guide, this two-part bowl guide, will be something that we can look back as far as the games themselves and enjoy them, because it's really hard to enjoy the bowl games when the proper staff isn't there. And of course, we've been through the whole thing with the players and all that. So, I mean, I don't know. We haven't seen a bowl game yet. I guess we'll find out tonight. We'll get the first one. We'll see exactly what's going on. But that's the one thing that really killed the bowls a lot more last year than ever before. And I don't anticipate that's going to change much. But from team to team, it's different. A lot of it's different. And that's the funny thing is that the early bowl games, the ones or just the games that you would consider like not worth watching, those types of games.
Right.
Those are the ones that actually have their staff and their players and everything, because the players aren't good enough to declare for the NFL or anything like that. I guess the good thing is that because the portal is now moved into January, that should help. That's supposed to help keep players where they are, but still, I guess we'll find out.
You can blame a lot of the coaches here too, because as they leave the programs, they take coaches, their coaching staffs with them, and some of the players decide that they want to go that way too. But this world we live in, this NIL world, this transfer portal world, this really disrupts everything. So all I can do moving forward with our bowl guide is to project with what we had this football season, hope everybody stays intact, which never happens, but at least going into it, we hope that there aren't too many changes.
Yeah. And the big news, actually, unfortunately, over the last couple of days, as far as college football is concerned, has not been the bowls, has not been the playoffs. It's been what's going on with Sherrone Moore at Michigan. And to be honest with you, I mean, I haven't really dove in head first into everything because I honestly don't care. I mean, he's no longer the coach and he's got some problems. And, I heard a little bit about it and I guess I'll hear a little bit more. I don't blame social media. I don't blame, YouTube to have like wall to wall, like everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got a show on it. I get it. That's our business. But just for me personally, as a Michigan fan, once he's off the team, it's not Jim Harbaugh. I mean, he's not a legend. So once he's off the team, you move on. And that's the thing that I'm concerned about, is because now you've got the recruits you got to hold on to. And they had 2 5-star recruits, which is a little unusual for Michigan. They're not Ohio State. They're usually around 10, 11 every year.
Right.
And they might have been around, pretty similar to that this year, a little bit. I think they were top 5. But they had a couple of really big time players that they got to hold on to. But now they got to go out and get a head coach. And I hope to spin it, because you always have to spin it positively, or at least that's the way I do it, where, well, you're not competing now against anybody else except Utah. Well, Utah's already got their coach in waiting. So really you're by yourself now. And I think that could be looked at as a positive, where, okay, it may cost Michigan a certain amount of money to get these coaches because they were, say, already in contracts or they renewed their contracts. But hey, it's not my money. And it's Michigan. So I think that there are going to be some good coaches out there that are now going to look at this job opportunity with Bryce Underwood at quarterback, with these 5-star freshmen coming in. It's Michigan. I think they're going to wind up with a good coach. I don't know who that is, but I think they'll wind up with a good coach.
I think they will too. Hopefully they'll be as fortuitous as Penn State ended up being. They ended up with Matt Campbell, who I think was a rock solid hire. Didn't look that way for the longest while, but it ended up being that way. And Michigan is a premier coaching job, but there's no question about that. One of the top 3 coaching jobs of all of college football. So they'll attract somebody there, and somebody that will be really, really good. Now, whether it will be the rebirth of an Urban Meyer or somebody like that, how ironic would that be? Him from Ohio State to Michigan.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
No, I don't
yeah.
think so. I just threw a name out there. Is all I did, right?
Yeah.
But it will be somebody that I don't think it won't be an assistant that moving up elevated like
No.
Sharon Moore was.
No.
And I think he was kind of in over his head to begin with. But I'm more concerned about him as a person, and I hope he can get his life together here. He didn't do anything that was life threatening, other than maybe threaten himself per se. And I think that's the biggest concern. So I don't think he's going to see any prison time or things like that. We just got to hope and pray that he can get his life back in order again together and become a better person. Really, that's kind of my main hope is about Michigan and him particularly.
Yeah, I don't know whether or not it's possible. I haven't really heard anything about, like, I know Penn State was talking early on about could Lincoln Riley go to Penn State, and I know that he's really excited about his recruiting class coming in. But that's one of the first names I thought of because of Bryce Underwood. I was like, wait a second, here's the guy that's a Heisman whisperer at quarterback.
Yes.
And just imagine if they can get Lincoln Riley. Like, just imagine. I mean, now look, I have no idea who USC's quarterback is going to be next year. I don't know if Miami is coming another year. I think he's eligible to come back another year. I see no reason why he would go pro. But anyway, it should be interesting. You mentioned Matt Campbell. The funny thing about that is that you got to wonder what's going on in Matt Campbell's head, because Matt Campbell, everybody knows Matt Campbell wanted the Michigan job a couple of times over the past like 5 or 6 years, before Harbaugh, before Sharon Moore. And then here he goes at the very last minute, takes the Penn State job, and just a couple of days later, the Michigan job opens up. So that's quite ironic. But like you said, good for Penn State. That turned out to be a really good move for Penn State, all things considered. It could have been a lot worse, and now they got themselves a heck of a coach.
Do you think there's a possibility, and I don't know if this would be good or bad, but is there a possibility that Brian Kelly may play himself into the picture at Michigan?
I hope not.
I would too. I would hope not myself.
Yes,
I'm a Michigan fan.
Yeah,
right.
With his background, I can't. I hope they're smarter than that. I wouldn't. It's possible. So anything's possible. He is one of the coaches out there that is unemployed and has a good track record. So I wouldn't throw it away. But I hope not.
And and we'll move on to other subjects here.
You know who I would really like, and I don't know, maybe this is just maybe he's a little too old, but why not Kyle Whittingham?
Well, I was going to mention that, but he's retiring for a reason. I think he's to the point where he wants to retire. But
I don't know about that. I think I saw something in there that said that he was leaving Utah, but not retiring.
Oh, really?
That's what piqued my interest, because that's what I thought he was doing. I just thought, oh, I'm done. I'm retiring and I'm moving on. But I read something that said something along the lines of, no, I'm not retiring. I'm just leaving Utah. I think it's time for a fresh start.
Well, that could be then. I would have to put his name right at the top of the hopper then, because he would be an excellent hire. He's done nothing but win wherever he's been, and moving into the Big Ten, I think would be a real nice move for him. A name I'm going to throw out there that might not be a top level name, but who I think is a coach that is deserving and will become a really, really good coach is Jeff Traylor from UTSA.
Sure.
He's done a lot of really good things with that football program, and I think he'll be highly sought after, whether it's Michigan or whatever school.
Yeah.
But I think I would have to also put his name on the list as well.
Yeah, he's one of the very few names that, because we saw what happened with Morris at North Texas, deservedly so. But yeah, Traylor seems to be the one that is still around, yep. And you do wonder. I know things haven't gone as well at UTSA the last couple of years. They've still won games. They're still, doing well, and he's got a great record there. But yeah, he's one of the few remaining names of those coaches that we've seen be very successful at a Group of 5 program that is still there.
Well, just imagine, Greg, that what he could do with money, with NIL or alumni money, to be able to buy players. That's one of the reasons they went backwards the last 2 years, is he couldn't compete financially, and put him up to a Michigan and, let them be able to bring some players in there. I think he could be masterful and do good things for that program.
Okay, now as far as the games themselves, and I want to remind everybody regarding the reason that we are doing the show on Saturday and not Friday. Mark was really, nose first, diving into the bowl part one guide that is available at Playbook Sports, and you can check that out. That is up until there it is. There's the newsletter, the College Football Guide Part One, that is available through the Hawaii game, the Hawaii Bowl between Hawaii and Cal. And then the second guide comes out with all the games after that, correct?
Correct. All the way through what would be then the conference or the playoff semifinal games. So it'll be a lot of deep coverage. There's 16 bowl games in this issue. There'll be 23 bowl games in the next issue.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So, and how long do you have to put that out? Because you only had 4 days to put the first one out?
We only had 4 days. That meant 4 or 5 in the morning for 4 or 5 days in a row working at this. But a week from Wednesday is when the next issue comes. So I've got a little more time to prepare and a little more time to put some thought into it. But it'll be a week from Wednesday when it will come out. In fact, it'll be coming out Christmas Eve is when. Christmas Eve is when it'll be coming out. Yes.
Okay. Well, speaking of some of these bowl games, starting, of course, with the playoff games, I think one of the things we do have to remember is that these first round games are on campus, and this is also something that I still find kind of interesting, and this is why I think a 16-team playoff also works really well. It's because even though any NFL team or college football team would like an extra week off, whether or not you played a championship game or not, hey, an extra week, an extra 2 weeks, an extra 3 weeks, anything like that helps healing up and all that kind of stuff. But what you do miss out on, which is kind of interesting, is by moving on and not playing in the first round, you don't get that home game. And that is really big financially for the community, for a lot of things. And that's the one thing that you got to feel that even though they love the bye, that there's a lot of business people within those programs that are like, well, I don't like this. I wish we had a home playoff game.
Well, a home playoff game started last year, and everybody won and covered, the 4 home teams that come off the bye. So it did prove to be successful for those teams, and maybe we'll look to see whether it is again or not this year. I think there's some better opposition playing into those byes this year than there was last year. So we'll keep an eye on that trend and see whether or not these home teams with the byes fare real well out of the gate. Also, teams that went into the college football playoff off of a straight up and point spread loss also were particularly well against the spread because they're come focus in those games. So a couple of angles to keep an eye on, and we'll do that in the Playbook Bowl guide forthcoming, as we mentioned here.
Okay, so in other words, what you're saying is a team like Alabama would be a good bet, but it would contradict the other trend, which is the home team in the playoffs. So really that kind of wipes each other out.
Those two angles do per se, then you have to get down to what's left.
Yeah.
So what are you looking at? What's left? Well, what I'm looking at personally is I'm seeing the first ever 3-loss team to make a college football playoff who wants to get that ugliness off the table. And they also just happen to have double revenge. Oklahoma's beat them twice in the last 2 times they played. So I think you're going to find an Alabama football team going in there loose as a goose and feeling really good. And don't be surprised if Alabama wins and covers that game. That's my own thought.
Yeah, the game last year was a lot more convincing. And Oklahoma beat Alabama. I think they held Alabama to 3 points, something like that. And I remember when we were talking about the Alabama-Oklahoma rematch this year, one of the things that I brought up was I just wonder if this is just a bad matchup for Alabama based on the fact that they don't have a strong running game and Oklahoma's got a great defense. But flipping it, you can say, well, Oklahoma won the game, and maybe that's the case, but the yards told a completely different story.
We do what we call rescores in our midweek alert, Greg. And what we do with a rescore, for people who are out there that maybe go real deep in the stats, like Major League Baseball does a thing called the fielding the fielding numbers, where you take the errors out of a pitcher's record and just to see what he threw, the way he performed, take the errors out that led to runs, and that's the true effort that he gave. Well, you do a rescore on a football game, and you take the turnovers out, and you get a true score. That game that Oklahoma beat Alabama 23-21 in, on the rescore, Alabama wins that game by 10 points. Okay. So, a 0-3 turnover edge in there. The yardage was dramatic. 194 yards. Alabama beats Oklahoma. I'm sure Alabama will remember that going into this game.
Yeah, that was a lot. I mean, Oklahoma barely eclipsed 200 yards of total offense. That you'd think with revenge as well, and with everybody saying Alabama doesn't deserve to be there.
Correct. Right.
Yeah, you would think that Alabama would probably be the way to go. But let's also keep in mind that the game, I mean, I don't think that even though it's on the road for Alabama, I don't look at Oklahoma as one of those places that is like hard to win at. So I'm not really concerned about that, but that is the only flip of the situation, is that Oklahoma will be at home this time. Whereas Oklahoma was able to beat Alabama on the road. And if Oklahoma does not win that game in Alabama earlier this year, Oklahoma is not in the playoffs.
That's exactly
so that's how big of a game that was for Oklahoma.
Exactly. And remember, one of Oklahoma's 2 losses this year came at home when they hosted Ole Miss, and Ole Miss was able to take them out as well.
Okay, and then you've got, let's see, this one is going to be on a Friday night, the Alabama-Oklahoma game. So that's a night game on Friday. And then on Saturday at 12, you've got the Texas A&M Miami game at College Station. And I had an opportunity to talk to Olin Buchanan, who is the Aggies. He's been an Aggie writer for quite a long time for TexAgs.com. I did the interview. You could check it out on the channel from a couple of days ago, because I wanted to really find out. And by the way, I'm going to speak with Gary Furman, I think, on Monday from Canesport.com. Gary, of course, has been the editor of Canesport forever. It's like the best Miami Hurricane place to go. They had a relationship with Rivals, now part of On3, I guess. But anyway, so I wanted to get both perspectives, because I really like either one of these teams as potential long shots. You're looking at Texas A&M at 20-1. You're looking at Miami at 25-1 to win the championship. And we've been talking about this all season, that any of these teams are capable of going on a run once the playoffs start. So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And I feel that whoever wins this game is going to give Ohio State all they can handle and might be able to even pull off the upset. But anyway, as far as this game is concerned, Texas A&M, only 1 loss. That was their last game. And now they're at home against a Miami team that has to feel pretty fortunate to be in this spot. I think there are a lot of people who felt that they weren't going to get this opportunity, but they flipped over Notre Dame. And we talked about that the other day, and everybody's talked about it. But both of these teams are more than capable. I think this is going to be, if there's any game I want to see, this is the game I want to see in the first round.
I think it's going to be a really, really good football game. I've been kind of anti-Mario Cristobal most of his career, but you have to give him his due for what they did this year. And I think they're one of these teams that will be on the excited list about a bowl team that's really excited to be here, because they crashed in. They did make the college football playoff. If they'd have gone somewhere else, they'd have been on the disappointed list, because they felt that they deserved to be in this football game. And I think you can make their case for them there that way. Texas A&M comes in off that first loss of the season here, and it's really a spot that it's difficult to get back up into in postseason play when you were undefeated the whole season, and you then lose your first game, the final game, usually in a conference championship playoff type atmosphere. And those teams tend to come a little bit flat in their next effort. So whether or not it will happen at home here for A&M is one thing, because we just talked about how well home teams have done in the college football playoff. But
well, they've got the combo going for them. They're coming off a straight up ATS loss, and they're at home in a playoff game.
Yes. The biggest negative thing that I found here, though, and this is kind of, I don't think people are aware of this, is the fact that this game will start at 11 a.m. Central Time for A&M. It's a 12 noon Eastern start, which means 11 o'clock for A&M, which takes that that 12th man out of the equation. They love those 12 men at the A&M home games to be all oiled up, well oiled, and play at night after they've tailgated the whole day. Now they're going to be coming in off a breakfast. And I went back and looked at Texas A&M in these games when they had to play at 11 a.m. starts. They have not fared well. Now, whether the crowd's part of that, I don't know. But I think that maybe benefits Miami more the starting time than it perhaps would A&M in this football game. But the bottom line is it's going to have to be taken care of on the field between these two football teams. I think it's going to be an excellent football game in this football contest here. I think it's just excellent,
Yeah, again, I'm going to take both teams to win the national championship, and then whoever wins this game, because the way I look at it is, all right, so if I take both teams at 20 and 25 to 1, and I'm also taking one other team I'll get to in a little bit, but 20, 25 to 1. And so one team's left. So let's say you put $100 on both. So you got what, 2,000 and 2,500. So one team's left, and you got at least 2,000 now on the Ohio State game, and you got to move forward a couple more wins. The way I look at it is, if you can beat Ohio State, then you can beat anybody. So to me, that's the championship. That's the decider right there. Why not just get it over with? And if you could beat Ohio State, then I'm feeling great, because now all of a sudden I only got 2 more games left. And if either Miami or Texas A&M could beat Ohio State, they could beat anybody. And I also just need to get then one more win after that, and then you can hedge your bet, because I got a big number. But that's my point, is that I think both of these teams are capable of beating Ohio State. And if one of these teams can knock them off, then by taking 20 or 25 to 1 to win the national championship, I think I'll be in a pretty good spot.
Let me set the table here for you and ask you this question then, with regard to that. Whomever it is you're going to pair up against Ohio State in the playoffs down the road here, would you want a team that is 2-13 straight up into the spread, that has 15 bowl games to knock off Ohio State?
I probably am not going to concern myself with that, because I don't really look at it as a bowl game.
Okay.
I look at it as a playoff game.
Yeah,
I actually think this bowl game stuff in the playoffs is stupid. It's like nobody cares about the bowl. Does anybody talk about a bowl game when they're in the playoffs? I think it's a complete waste. I feel sorry for the bowls. I feel sorry for everybody that goes through all of the bowl preps and marketing the bowl, because we've just destroyed the bowls now, and we just I don't think anybody even knows what those bowls are until they tell you, like, the day of the game. Oh, by the way, so you see the graphic on the screen. Oh, I didn't even know it was the Sugar Bowl. I mean, it's a playoff game. But I see what your point is, because that's a post regular season game, and we don't really have a whole lot of data, I guess, to go on with playoffs too. I'd be interested to find out if those teams had one of those teams had a similar poor record in any playoff games over the past 5 or 6 years, and if so, then that would really concern me even more.
Well, which bowl game is this technically? Because
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Basically, just a placement holder is all it is.
Well, is that what? Yeah, that could even be it. It could be the placement holder bowl, for all I know. Seriously, I mean, I have no idea. I mean, hearing some of these, you hear these new really bowl games every year, and it is funny, the name of these bowl games. Let's see. Let me pop up. If I could see what it is. But anyway, while I'm looking at it, which one of those teams is 2-15?
Yeah, that's Miami of Florida. They really struggled in bowl games. Really.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Aren't they? And I was looking at your, I remember seeing it in the guide, and I was like, there's certain, and there were certain interesting trends that are only good for when you get to the bowl season. And so I put a big bowl, wait until the bowl. And I know Miami's one of them. And where is it? Let's see.
Well, Greg, I think that these opening round games, as opposed to the semifinals moving forward, are designated bowl games. Because when you get to the semifinals on out, they're going to be sliding into the Orange Bowl or the Sugar Bowl or whatever. But these first round games here, I don't think they're designated placeholders. I think they're just simply college football tournament games or college football playoff games.
Yeah. Again, I mean, yeah, the fact that I don't know that just tells you all you need to know. Let's see. Okay, here it is. Yeah, I see it. Okay. So I have it at 1-12 straight up since 2006. What did you say it was?
I've got them 2-13 straight up in ATS and bowl in their last 15
Okay,
bowl
so the
games.
ATS is thrown in there. Okay.
Yes, it is,
So
right.
yeah, so they've only won once though in the last 13 bowl
Yes.
games. So hey, that could. But again, I don't. They have not been in a playoff, so we know that. But neither is Texas A&M. Neither of these teams have been in any of these playoffs. So, and the playoff system has been around for what, 15 years? The 4-team system, I think so. It's amazing how long these things have been around because, like, I think of it and I'm like, well, it feels like it was only around for 5 years, and then I hear it's like 10 years. It's like, really, is that long? So, but I don't ever remember Texas A&M or Miami in any of those playoff games.
Well, here's the weird, wacky thing. Mario Cristobal, for all the knocks we throw on him, in his career, when he takes on really good teams, 900 or better, he's 18-6 against the spread. Doesn't mean he wins those games, but he hangs around and catches the ticket is really what it says.
Yeah, and that is and that's the reason why and Jim Feist, of course, who was not with us today or yesterday. He's still a little under the weather. He is getting better, but he's just taking it easy. Has always recommended, and I've taken his if anything, and any tip, that handicapping tip I've ever taken from him that I'm just 100% behind is just go with the money line in these situations. I understand that Texas
In
A&M
win-like situations, yes, right.
Yes, they're minus 180, and it's a big number. I think one of the things that I like to do, like for instance, if Texas A&M, they're sitting there at minus 180, and if I don't want to put up the minus 180, what I'll do is I'll try to see if I can put a parlay together with a game going before Texas A&M, so this way I can erase the minus 180. And make it like an even bet almost. So for instance, especially if it's like an NFL game this week, and I like a dog that's at plus 180. All right, let me parlay the 180 with the minus 180, and that'll make it a little bit better.
Right.
So anyway, I'm no expert, you guys are, but but again, the bottom line is when you got money to play minus 180, I know it could be a lot to put up straight up, but it's worth it. Because 3.5 in a game that could be really close. You don't want to sit there and go feeling dumb by not going with the 180 if you wind up winning the game by 3. So,
Jim's general rule on that is, for what it's worth, is any game that's with a favorite of less than 3. So, anywhere from 1, 2, 2.5, like that. But he will make a case for, like you mentioned, 180. Probably put a little bit of a ceiling on the money line level, priced at probably $2 or less is what I think what it is he'll do. Right.
Okay. Next up, we've got another rematch, Tulane and Ole Miss. This is another thing that I don't. There's nothing they could do about it, but the rematches, they're lame. But we have a blowout rematch with Ole Miss and Tulane, and we got to find out whether Tulane is capable of knocking off a team like Ole Miss, because the problem has been for Tulane over the last several years is when they do play these really tough SEC teams on the road, they get beat up. It's not even close. They've had good competition with some SEC teams, and they beat Kansas State a couple of years ago at home, but not these types of teams, not the upper level teams. That's a problem that any group of 5 team would have a problem on the road. And this is no neutral site game. They're on the road at Ole Miss. I know it's a lot of points, but Ole Miss is the other long shot team that I'm going to put some money on. I'm going to put the money on the winner of Texas A&M Miami. I'll come out of that with one winner, but I'm also going to put some money on Ole Miss because they're also up there at 25-1. And I remember saying this last year when we talked about Ohio State after the Michigan game and saying, I don't think we have any idea how Ohio State's going to react to the Michigan loss. Either they're going to just not come out and they're going to be flat against Tennessee and they're going to lose the game and everybody woe is me and I can't believe we lost to Michigan, or they're going to look at it as a rebirth and we've got another chance and we're going to be just fine. And that's exactly what happened. And they made the run to the national championship. But with Ole Miss, I'm looking at, well, hey, it's us against the world. Everybody thinks we're not going to win. We're 25-1. If we had Lane Kiffin, we'd probably be 12-1 to win the national championship. And I know I said this the other day, and I know it's college basketball, but the fact is, my team, Michigan, in basketball, with Steve Fisher taking over the program, won a national championship. And he did it. That was the famous Schembechler saying, a Michigan man will coach Michigan. And that's exactly what happened, because I forget who the coach was at the time. He was a really good coach, and he was going to go coach another team. And Schembechler, no, that's not happening. If you're not going to be here, you're not going to coach this team in the tournament. Steve Fisher took over, and they won a national championship. So it can happen, even though I don't think it's ever happened in college football, but it can happen. And that's why I think Ole Miss is a dangerous long shot.
Well, I think in this football game, I'm going to go the other way, and I'm going to make my play on John Summerall from Tulane, opting to stay with the program, even though he took the big job moving forward to Florida. He opted to stick with his troops, going to stay with you all the way through these college football playoffs. I think, number one, you talk about teams that are excited to be where they are. I think this happens to be a game that Tulane is excited to be in. They cracked the college football playoff. And you've got also the Summerall situation going on here. You've also got the 35-point same-season loss revenge, the worst of Summerall's career, coming right back in a same-season rematch. It's very, very difficult to beat a team you powdered the first time and come back and beat them and win the money again the second time. And then there's this point spread in this game here. That's a big, big, tall number for a Tulane football team. I can't remember the last time that they weren't a dog of this big, this size this year. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but when they played at Ole Miss earlier this year, they were 11.5-point dogs at Ole Miss, same place, the same place where they were leveled and laid out before. So all of a sudden, what happened to the 11.5 that was there then?
Yep.
Now suddenly you're leading a bigger number here. So I'm going to take the points of Tulane and see if they're a little bit more scrappy this game than they were the first.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is actually a game I'm going to take. I'm more interested in Ole Miss as a future to win the championship at 25-1. But I will say that if I'm going to be feeling good after this game, I think I'm going to feel a lot better if they either cover the spread or, if they don't, that they were backdoor covered and they were up by 24 or something like that. I still feel pretty good. I don't think I'll feel as confident if they win this game by 7 or 10 against Tulane. I think they need to come out right away, right out of the gates, and show everybody that this should still be a team to be reckoned with. But we'll see. Again, this might be. I know we've only had a very short time. I don't even know what the biggest spread was last year in the playoffs, but I can't imagine that we've ever had a line of 17.5 in a college football playoff game.
I don't know about a playoff game. In fact, I'll bring it up while we're sitting here and speaking and talking about a playoff game. We know for sure in a bowl you have.
Sure.
Yeah. We're going to have an even bigger line than this in a college football playoff game when Oregon is going to lay a whopping the 21.5 points against James Madison.
Yeah, there you go. That's another one. Yeah,
right.
And that's the next game there. So it's even more. So 21. Yeah. So we've never had 21 in a playoff game before. That's no way.
No, I'm bringing it up right now. I don't think we have. But speaking about James Madison, we'll just kind of use that as a precursor to get to that game. Another team that I think is thrilled to be where they are, and a second group of 5 team that made the playoff this year. And some fans are probably wondering, scratching their head, saying, "Why? How did 2 group of 5 teams make the college football playoff this year?" Well, it's not so much they're looking at it as a group of 5 teams, and they're looking at teams that won their conference and allowed them the opportunity to make the college football playoff. They just happen to be a pair of group of 5 teams. And there's so many things coming into this game that James Madison has done better than any FBS team did thus far this football season here. It makes me give pause and have to stop and look real hard and long and deep at James Madison in this game.
Sure.
A
lot of points.
Oh, and put it on a scale of this, Greg, when part of this bowl guide breaks things down into how they fared against other bowl teams this year. Well, there's no team in college football that's fared better in head-to-head games against other bowl teams than did James Madison this year. They won their games against other bowl teams by an average stat margin of over 250 yards a game. Nobody's even close to that. They just dissolved teams like that. But let me get into pick this up for me while I'm looking here. into the playoff situation. That's a really intriguing thing you brought up about has there ever been this big of a number in a college bowl or a college playoff game?
Yes.
Let me see. And part of the reason we're looking at this is because of the home field here. Obviously, the lines being tacked on more because there's a home field here as opposed to a neutral field. But let me see what I can find in my database here. My database is all these things I'm looking for. They kind of get hidden on me. I got so many things in my database here. I need Sherlock Holmes to go find them.
Sure. Well, I mean, now you know why you're spending all hours of the night, 4 nights a week, putting your bowl guide together.
Exactly right. But I do have a label on them. So while I'm looking, any other thoughts you might have on this particular game or any other playoff game?
Yeah, actually. So Bob Chesney.
Yes.
That's another thing that will help James Madison. So the fact that he's going to coach the game, and I think that UCLA made a really good hire, and I think that's something that that UCLA is going to benefit from, and I'm glad to see, because I don't like seeing really good programs suffer like UCLA has, when there's no right for that program to suffer with the recruiting hotbed they're in, everything else they got going on there. But they've had so many problems within their administration. It's always, if you ever, no matter where you are in life, and especially of course here in sports, if you always want to find out why an organization just continues to just have issues, always up top and see what's going on there. And UCLA's got just a lot of crazy stuff going on, but they have a really good coach, and he's only been the coach of James Madison for 2 years. And last year he was a dog once, and James Madison just annihilated North Carolina on the road. And I remember that one because I had James Madison as an upset in that one, and they were a big dog in that one. And then this year they were a dog against Louisville. They covered the game. They lost it, but they were very competitive at Louisville. So he's been a dog twice. He's covered both times.
Is he another Kirk Cignetti? That's the question, who left a good program like
could be.
Yes.
And again, a lot's going to depend on the portal, because James Madison's got good players. So we're going to find out who he's going to bring with him to UCLA, just like Cignetti did when he brought his players over to Indiana. So absolutely. Yeah. I can see that happening. And just imagine you're a James Madison fan. I mean, you had Kirk Cignetti and Bob Chesney. Cignetti was there for 5 years. So you had Kirk Cignetti for the last 5 years and Bob Chesney the last 2 years. So you're spoiled. But even before that, Mike Houston had done a good job there. Mike Houston was there for 3 years before he got the job at East Carolina. He didn't do well at East Carolina. And they had a dominant team. So James Madison, they're used to winning a lot of football games. Of course, from the FCS, a lot of those years, just with the FPS the last couple of years. Was
he on Cignetti's staff, or did he come from another program? Do you recall?
Chesney? I believe Chesney was. Yes, I believe he was.
So he was elevated, right?
Yeah. Taking a look at his background. Let's see. Chesney was coaching James Madison. Let's see. No, actually, he wasn't. He was with Holy Cross for 6 years before he got the job. And when he got the job, he had an excellent record at Holy Cross. They were 44-21, 28-4 in the conference during his 5 years at Holy Cross. He took them to the playoffs 4 out of the 5 years, and then got the job at James Madison when Cignetti left.
It just came in, Greg. I finally found it, looking for that needle in a haystack, and I found it. College football playoffs, largest dogs ever. This is the largest dog ever, James Madison.
Okay.
The largest before was Notre Dame. Took 18 points from Alabama, if you can believe that.
Wow.
In 1921 or 2021. Lost the game but covered the spread. But this is the first 20-point dog in the history of the college football playoff.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's proof right there that in 2021, that just shows you the difference between, so we've been saying all along, the difference between the old college football, which was just, even in that example, just 4 years ago, where you only had 4 teams in a playoff and one team was an 18-point favorite over another team. So a top 4 college football team was getting 18 points from most likely the number 1 team in the country, Alabama. And that just showed you the difference between the number 1 team in the country just 4 years ago compared to what we have nowadays. It's just a big, that's why I said, if you're the 5th team, 6th team, 7th team, it never mattered. You were never going to have a chance to win the national championship 4 years ago. Now it's a completely different.
It is. And what's going to happen when it moves to 16 teams because of what Notre Dame did, pulling out and then probably likely forcing a 16-game playoff, making that happen here sooner than later.
And it's too bad for Texas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Vanderbilt and BYU that's not going to happen this year. So too bad. Okay. So then there you go. Those are the, now let's take a look at, and again, I'll be doing a bowl preview early next week. I think because if you take a look at some of these games, and let's see, actually, before we get into that, there are the 2 games today. You got the Army-Navy game, which when I was looking at the Army-Navy game, I really couldn't find myself. I'm sure you've got something better, but I couldn't find anything as far as historical trends that seem to really favor one team or another, which is why I just decided, since I didn't find anything, to just go with Navy because I just think they're the better team based on the eye test this year. Army is nowhere near as good as the team they were last year. Army was the favorite in the game last year. Navy beat them as a dog. Matter of fact, they beat them up as a dog. And Navy, what I did notice is Navy has not won back-to-back games in the series since they dominated that series for 9 years, I think it was. No, 14 years, when they won 14 straight. That was last done in 2014, 2015. I know it's a lot of points to give up in a rivalry, and dogs are always interesting, especially last year. You saw what Navy did as a dog. Same, I think it was pretty much the same point spread. But I just think Navy's a better team.
Well, Navy is the better team. My question is this. They started out 7-0 at the beginning of the football season. And they're limping into this game and then into the playoffs. And they're limping in so badly to the point that there are what we call leaking oil. They've lost the yards in each of the last 4 straight games in a row. That's never a good situation for favorites, especially in rivalry type games. And the one thing that does work in Army, Navy, or military type games is revenge. The military teams are probably the best at extracting revenge amongst themselves than any other league or group of teams. Because you can't hold a team down too long and keep pummeling and dominating them like they do. I'm on Army on this football game here. One, because of the revenge factor, and 2, the leaking oil aspect part of the football game. But you've also got a Jeff Monken, who's really, really good as an underdog against quality teams, against teams that are 750 or better. He's 14-8 to the spread in his career. I'm grabbing the points with Army in this game.
Okay. And what about, where are they going in the bowls, by the way? Where is it? Who's Army and Navy playing in bowls? Oh, Army's playing UConn at Fenway Park in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. And Navy, who are they playing? Navy, they must be playing in like, don't they play it? Oh, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl against Cincinnati. So those are the 2 matchups.
Now that could be intriguing when it gets to be that game. Now let's just say, for argument's sake, that my assumption is correct and that Army does extract their revenge and Navy goes into that game off of a loss. I think Cincinnati is on a definite play against list coming into the bowl games here. This football team is really leaking oil badly. They started out the season pretty nice, didn't close out all that well. And now they're going to take on a military team off a loss. So that would be the situation that I would look at if I could get Navy into this game off of a loss.
Coastal Carolina is playing Louisiana Tech in the Independence Bowl. And the thing that I bring that up for is that they fired their coach. That's rare that a team fires their head coach before they're going to a bowl game. I don't remember that happening very often. I don't even know when the last time that did happen. Because usually when you go to a bowl, that's like, hey, we had a good season. At least we're going to a bowl. We're going to celebrate. So I'm not saying that Tim Beck deserved to maintain his job, but yeah, I find that a little interesting. I guess the one game that we're always looking for edges here in the bowl. So I'm gonna let me see, where is the edge that just jumps out at me. If I could see where the hell the bowl game is because we just talked about the whole deal with Michigan and their coaching job. And wouldn't it be nice if Kyle Whittingham could get potentially looked at? So that's the game that I would look at. I would jump all over Utah. I don't even know what the spread is. I would jump all over Utah because it's Kyle Whittingham's final game coaching Utah.
I mentioned just that in the coffee club, the fact that when the news broke that you'd probably want to get on Utah right now because you know they're going to play their heart out for this guy. The problem is you have to lay a mountain to do just that. They're like really? 17-point favorites.
17
against Nebraska. Yes.
Oh, okay. Still don't have the quarterback. I guess that's in play. Yeah. But still, that's a lot of points.
That's a whole lot of points,
Wow.
As excited as I was at the prospect, I had to back off when I saw the number in the football game. One other sidebar note before we continue on here. Coastal Carolina.
Yes.
Fires their head coach or lets him go. Coastal Carolina probably fared the worst in all games against other bowl teams this year.
Okay.
They played 6 other bowl teams. They lost the yards in all 6 games by an average of 212 yards a game.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't belong here, Greg.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Tim Beck deserves to be fired. No question about it.
Right.
But very strange nonetheless. Okay. Speaking of the coffee club, if you haven't signed up for the coffee club yet, you might want to decide to sign up today because right now you would be able to check out. There is a ATS stat of the day that is 14-0 on a key NFL game this weekend. And we're going to get to the NFL in just a few minutes. And there are some big games in the NFL this weekend. And one of those games, there is a 14-0 ATS number. So if you want to see what that is, then order the coffee club. I think we have a link in the description for that. But either way, it's very simple. Just go over to Playbook Sports and you can check it out. So
there's a link right on the homepage. Just click on the coffee club in the lower left-hand corner, and it'll take you right to the page. That 14-0 stat, by the way, is a really nice stat, and you'll be surprised at who it qualifies for this week.
Yeah. So okay. So again, I'll be going over all these bowl games, and what I'm going to do, really, the main thing I want to do for you guys is just set it up regarding, just so you guys are informed on who's coaching, who's not. Any players that are skipping the games, even though there might be, we've seen situations where we're hearing rumors about potential players not playing in bowl games, but sometimes we don't know for like a week or 2 weeks. Like if you get a bowl game that's after January 1st or something like that, or late in December, sometimes we find out a couple days before so-and-so is not playing. There was some rumors about it. So these are all things you're just going to have to just keep an eye on. We'll definitely be updating it as much as possible. I'm sure you'll be doing the same thing, Mark. So yeah, that's that you have to get this information. It's critical before you wager on a bowl game that you find out everything about the bowl game regarding coaches and players.
Hey, Greg, before we move over to the NFL side of things, I want to acknowledge John Putnam. He's a real regular to the show and to everything that we do with the Playbook family and here at ProLine TV. And his opening comment was really, really thoughtful. And what he said was praying for Jim and his family. And that means a whole lot to us, Greg. You and I, we know that, and to Jim Feist himself as well. So as our listeners know out there, Jim is he's having a tough battle now with cancer. And he's going through some treatments. And I've never seen anybody in my life that is more positive about what the outcome of this is going to be than Jim Feist is. They've got him on a regiment now of exercise, and there's different type of a program that they're doing to help combat and eradicate this. But you talk about exercise. This guy goes to the gym 6 days a week, Greg, and they've got him lifting weights. He's lifting weights that I never lifted when I was in my prime. So kudos to Jim. And really, John, thank you so much for your kind words. And I'm going to pass them along to Jim. I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, no, I'm on the wrong one here. Just before I wanted to switch over, but why aren't they letting me? Okay, here it is. Yeah, just I wanted to answer one of the other questions, and that was from John regarding Blake Horvath. Now, he is a senior. So I don't know whether or not what kind of status he has, though, regarding whether or not he is going to be playing in his final game. So, but he is a senior, just to answer your question. And I do believe that because most military guys, I don't even know. Do military guys, do they redshirt? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that rule. I know the one thing that when we were always putting our Playbook Guide magazine together here, we'd always list the recruiting of how teams did each and every year, and the military teams are always at the very bottom.
Yeah, they don't redshirt. I don't see it here. I don't see any designations.
They get the players that joined into the military is who they get.
Yeah,
and they cultivate them is what they do. Right.
Yep. So yeah, so if he's a senior, if he's designated as a senior, that means he is out of options. So he will be playing in his final Army-Navy game. And he's definitely the best player on the field, but that doesn't mean anything in rivalry games. You would hope it would. But unfortunately, look at Army last year. Army had a superior team than Navy last year. Army had probably the best team in Monken's history with that program, and Navy destroyed them 31-13. So again, a lot of that does not happen. But Will brings up a really good point, and that is betting military teams in bowls. Oh. That is definitely the way to go. It's usually better to bet them as dogs. I love military bowl dogs. Unfortunately, both teams are favorites in the military in the bowl games this year. So
no, but we can bring them in certain conditions too, like as I mentioned earlier, bring them in off the laws. Look at the opponent and see what the opponent's coming in off of. But the one thing that's been really rock solid money, I don't even have to look at all the subsets, is military teams in bowl games, because you do get their best effort. They're fully focused.
Oh yeah.
Whereas the other teams may be a little bit more party oriented going into those bowl games.
Yes, you do never know about something like that. Even Navy, I think, is like a 4-point favorite over Cincinnati. It's not a big number. Tonight, you got Boise State and Washington. The last time these two teams played was the 2023 season. Week 1 opener, and Washington destroyed Boise 56-19. But don't forget, that was the Washington team that lost in the national championship game. And then the last time these two teams played in a bowl game was in 2019, and Washington won that game easy as well, 38-7. Interesting, of course, that Boise got their quarterback returning to them in the UNLV game. And once again, Boise State took out UNLV early, and it's everything I feared when they matched these two teams up. And that's why I know they've been talking about ACC, and that eventually that they have to decide in college football with these tiebreakers. They got to change the tiebreaker system. And one of the things someone said was, yeah, they got to maybe think of doing sort of like what the Mountain West Conference is doing and some of the other conferences with going with the computer. And I'm like, no, the computer spat out Boise State and UNLV. I do not want to trust the computer on tiebreakers because nobody wanted to see Boise State and UNLV in the championship game this year for a third straight year, when UNLV gets their ass kicked by Boise State every time they play them, including earlier in the season. And that's exactly what happened again. And it's like Boise of all years. Boise should never have been in the championship game this year. They had the worst year we've seen Boise have over the last several years, and they go back to the championship game. It was annoying. But anyway, now they got to step up in competition now, because they got to play a Washington team. Those are the teams they've had a lot of problems with this year. You got to keep that in mind. Boise did not fare well against Notre Dame or even South Florida. So,
Will Hildebrand, shout out to him as well. He acknowledged Jim Feist, and thank you, Will, for that. We will pass the message along. I promise you. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, Jim said he's getting better, so hopefully Jim will be ready to go for next week, and we certainly hope that's the case. Okay, so let's turn our attention to the NFL, and in the NFL, we've got a full slate of games, no buys anymore. So the full slate, we had the Thursday night game, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay gets everybody back on offense. They got Mike Evans out there. They got Godwin out there. They've got Ibuka. You're thinking, okay. And they did score 28 points, but they had a 28-14 lead, and they needed to score more, and they couldn't do it. And Baker's interception was really the one that really opened up the gates for Atlanta. It was a poorly thrown ball. And even though they scored 28 points and Baker put up big numbers, you can tell. I don't think Baker threw a spiral in the entire game. You could just tell that he's not throwing the ball as well as he has in the past. And I hope that changes. I hope he can get better as the season goes on, because if he doesn't get better, they're not going to go far, even if they win this division.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but with that loss, did Carolina not move into their spot atop the division right now?
Yeah, okay. Half a game, yes.
Which means right now, as we're sitting here speaking, that Carolina is the number 4 seed in the NFC playoffs. And if Tampa doesn't make it, that's going to step a long streak for Tampa Bay not winning their division. I think they've won it the last 2 years in a row.
Oh, no, they've won it like 5 years in a row.
5 years. Okay. There we go.
Yeah, you got to go back to Tom Brady.
Yep.
Where they won it, and then they've won it every year with Baker. So, yeah, exactly. That's but they do play twice. Keep that in mind. So they got home and home with Carolina. So even if Carolina wins against New Orleans, that's it. Look, it matters because Carolina can split and be okay. But Tampa Bay would have to, of course, sweep. Now, that's the position they've been put in. But at least Tampa Bay still controls their own destiny.
Well, look at Tampa Bay, Greg. They couldn't have had a more paved path to the playoffs than they had this year. Look at who they closed their season out against: Arizona, New Orleans, Atlanta, Carolina, Miami, and Carolina again.
Yeah.
You talk about a soft path, and here's this football team. They've been out-yarded in 9 of their last 10 football games. It's speaking to where these teams who are, like I talked earlier in the season about the Indianapolis Colts and how they're going to end up falling apart because they're not winning games like they're supposed to. The Philadelphia Eagles falling apart because they're being out-yarded in their football games. The same thing's going on with Tampa Bay right now, and they've got to get this thing turned around quickly, seriously, or else Carolina is going to steal their spot.
And check this out. You can only get this in the Playbook football guide. Atlanta is now 13-1 against the spread in their last 14 games as division dogs when they take on an opponent off of a loss.
How nice is that?
Yeah. Yep. So that continues. And you know what? It also continues. Tampa Bay is now 0-8 against the spread. Their last 8 home games on Thursday Night Football.
Wow.
So, all right. Now, we have some really big games coming up in the NFL, and this is one of them. This is the AFC East game between Buffalo and New England. And New England started out as the 1-point favorite. I think it was 1.5, and now it's 1.5 Buffalo. Are you surprised that we've had a switch? I don't know why we have the switch. There's nothing that happened during the week that changed. New England still does have some injury concerns. They've got their offensive linemen out. One of their top defensive linemen are out. But these are things that have, I think this has happened the last couple of games, at least one game. And New England is starting to kind of, you see some chinks in the armor. They're only 2-3 ATS in the last 5. That's maybe a sign that, they're not playing as well as they had played previously. And on this 10-game winning streak, they've only played, even though they're on a 10-game winning streak, in their last 8 wins, only 1 was versus a winning team. And now no longer, because Tampa Bay lost last night on Thursday, so they're no longer a winning team. So that means in the last 8 games that New England has played, the last 8 wins, none of those teams right now are winning teams in the NFL. They've taken care of business. They've had a very good season, but this is the best win they had all season. was the win at Buffalo, and they're playing them again at home. Are you surprised that the line is switched, considering the Patriots are on a 10-game winning streak and beat Buffalo in Buffalo?
No, I'm not surprised because Buffalo is a team largely of name and reputation. And, everybody's cried and squawked about this soft schedule that New England has played this football season here. And I'll agree with that. But let's put it under the microscope, Greg, here, and look at the wins that Buffalo has, okay? How many winning teams have they beat? Teams at Pittsburgh, okay, barely. Tampa Bay, do they have a winning record right now?
No.
Okay,
They're
so that's
now.
not included. Kansas City doesn't have a winning record. Carolina, I don't even know if they have a winning record, Carolina.
Yes, they're 7-6.
Okay, New Orleans, no. Miami, yes. Jets, no. Baltimore. So they haven't played this. They played relatively sisters of the poor themselves, has Buffalo. You got New England with a week of rest to get ready for this football game. And this Buffalo Achilles heel is their rush defense. You cannot lay points, and I keep preaching this, you cannot lay points in the National Football League on the road when your defense allows 4.5 or more yards of carry. Those teams just find disaster. They end up in graveyards when they do situations like that. So now you've got a team here that is currently sitting right now the number 2 seed in the AFC playoffs, and they're dressing up as a home dog to a team that's coming in there on name and reputation. I don't want to bet on teams with name and reputation. I want to bet on teams that go out and know how to win football games. And you have much the better coach here in Mike Vrabel than you do Sean McDonough. Give me the Patriots in this game.
Interesting that the Patriots have been a dog 4 times this year. They've won outright 3 of the 4. The only one they did not win outright was the home game. And they were a 1-point home dog against Pittsburgh in week 3, even though they dominated the yards in the game, as most teams do against Pittsburgh. But
163 yards, they beat them. Yes, right.
Yeah. That's just a little interesting tidbit. But look, we all know that if you want to look at the revenge part, it's going to be tough to sweep Buffalo. The game means more for Buffalo. There is all of that. And maybe that's why Buffalo is the 1.5-point favorite. And I can see that. So like I said, I think the one thing that concerns me is just the fact that sort of like Chicago last week is sooner or later, everybody's going to lose unless you're an elite team. And I don't think New England's elite. So this is one of those games I think most people would target. Okay, it's time for the Patriots to lose. But they're now a dog. And even though they're the slightest dog, it's still they're a dog at home. And that is a tough place to play in Foxborough. And New England has done a pretty good job in the series as well. They've won 3 out of the last 5 with Buffalo, and they've covered the last 5 straight against the Buffalo Bills, including the win as an 8-point road dog earlier this year.
Let me throw out this stat from our Playbook newsletter on this game here, Greg, and it's kind of an eye-opening stat, and it's not something that I normally do, and I'll explain this here. You're talking about, in Buffalo, a football team that when they have revenge, chip on their shoulder, they're only 21-35 to the spread. So they haven't been able to carry that out fully and go inside that number. And when you put them coming off of a win of 5 to 12 points, and that's a window, and I do not believe in handicapping games by windows because windows open and close depending upon what happened. But anyway, for the sake of this conversation, with revenge coming off of a win of 5 to 12 points, Buffalo is 0-14-1 against the spread.
Oh,
yes. Not a good number. Not a good number, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this is one of those games where I'm not going to take the game myself because I kind of want to take Buffalo, but I just don't trust them. They've given me no reason to trust them this year. They've not played as well as they've played in years past. Now, maybe they're going to go on a run. They still have time to do that. But until they start doing that, I'm just, this is just one of those games I'm going to enjoy watching. And maybe we'll get some snow showers too. That would be nice.
Yes, it would.
So that would add to it. Okay. Let's see what else we have as far as the NFL. Let's see. Cleveland and Chicago. That's a 7.5-point spread. You get Shedeur Sanders. Big opportunity for him again. Bears coming off a loss. And in this one, Chicago's won all 4 games and covered 3 out of 4 in the favored role this year. The only one they lost against the spread was a 4-point win against the Giants at home as a 5-point home favorite. So just by 1 point, or they be undefeated as a favorite role this year. They're still 8-2-1 against the spread in their last 11. The Browns, meanwhile, just 1-5 straight up ATS on the road this year. Their only win was the win against Las Vegas. They're 3-10 ATS, last 13 as a road dog. Sanders will be making his 4th start, and this is going to be, I think, a key start for him, Mark, because it's against a decent team. Quality team, a decent defense, not a good defense, a decent defense. The one thing the Bears do really well is pick off passes. And that's the thing that Shedeur Sanders has got to stay away from, because I think the Bears, they lead the NFL in interceptions, something like that. They got like almost 20 interceptions on the year. So he's got to stay away from that. If he can do that, then with that defense, maybe they got a shot to keep it close.
Well, here's the thing that jumps out for me about Shedeur Sanders is I've been a fan of his, and I think the Browns knew what they were doing when they drafted him, because it was purely value. He was projected to be a maybe first, but likely second or third round draft pick, and they got him in the 5th round. And he's got skill. He can deliver the football. He checks a lot of boxes. There's some things he doesn't do well, holds onto the ball too long, gets sacked, yada, yada, yada. But he's now given control of the team. And since he's had control of the team, the Browns have won the yards in every game he started so far this football season here. And that says a lot, because the Browns were a team that was beaten up savagely in the stats before he took the starting position for this team. So if he continues to do that against Chicago, then I'm going to buy in on Shedeur Sanders.
Sure.
Maybe not the Cleveland Browns, but at least on Shedeur Sanders here, because he's going up, like you said, against a quality football team. I don't know what's going to happen in this game here, because you're catching Chicago, who's had a really, really nice season coming off that tough loss against Philadelphia, or against Green Bay, I should say. And they've got Green Bay up on deck next. So they're in the middle of a Green Bay sandwich, are the Chicago Bears. Not a good situation for them. So we'll see how this game shakes out. But I think that it's all there for Shedeur Sanders to prove that he is indeed an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, Cleveland made the trade at the draft in April, designed to pick a quarterback in the 2026 draft, meaning they gave that pick to Jacksonville, moved down a few spots. Hunter was the pick, and they didn't go the quarterback route. But now, but what they did do, and what's always smart when you're in this position, is you add some young quarterbacks like they did in Gabriel and Sanders, and say, hey, let's see if one of them hits, and if one of them does, then maybe we don't need to spend a 1st-round draft pick on a quarterback, or at least we can skip it down the road to 2027. And that's the thing that I think we're going to find out. I think if Sanders plays well towards the end of the season, I think the Browns would be smart to do that, because the quarterback class this year is not as strong as we thought it was going to be when they made the move in April. There was a lot of talk about, they're going to be 3 or 4 guys. 2 of those guys, Nussmeier and Aller, were supposed to be in that list. And Aller's out for the year with the injury, and Nussmeier has not played well this year for LSU.
Exactly.
So that's why it would make more sense for Cleveland to say, okay, let's give Sanders a year. Let's put more around him with all this draft capital we have. And if we want to, we can still kick, maybe we'll trade another pick and kick it to 2027. And then this way, because that's even going to be a better class of quarterbacks as Arch Manning comes out. You get Sayan coming out and a few other quarterbacks. So that could, but no, again, it all depends on Sanders playing well down the stretch.
Well, you have to give him his due and what's doing. What it is, Greg, is nobody works harder than he does. He's first man at practice, last man to leave, doesn't whine, doesn't cry, doesn't complain. He's very, very humble, which is sort of like an anti-Deion trait. So he's checking a lot of boxes and saying and doing the right things here for Cleveland. So I think they want to give him every opportunity they can to prove that he is a National Football League quarterback. I like the fact that they're staying with him for the rest of the season.
Yes, does make a lot of sense. And look, I don't think there's anything wrong with Gabriel as a number 2 quarterback. I think he could be a really good backup quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yes.
So it's possible that the Browns might be in a really good situation here if Sanders can take over the job. Okay, normally this would be the type of game that we would just, Eagles favored by 12.5. Let's move on. The reason I'm not going to move on here quickly is because I'm taking Las Vegas to win the game. The reason I'm going to do that for two reasons. One, I like the fact that Kenny Pickett is playing against his former team. So you get a little bit of a backup bounce here in the game for a really bad team that is obviously desperate for a win. But then you got this Eagle team that is just continuously finding ways to lose. They're not playing well. They're 0-6 against the spread in their last 6 games as double-digit favorites. So even if you don't want to go my route, taking the money line, go ahead, take the 13 to 12.5 because the Eagles have not covered those spreads very much over the last several years. And also, check this out too. They're 0-8 against the spread in their last 8 when they take on a opponent with a win percentage of 250 or less, as long as that team is not a division opponent. So there's a lot there that's not good for the Eagles. And I think that if you're looking for any hope that the Raiders can just have some sort of positive energy with as bad their season's going, I think they have it with Pickett playing in this game against his former team.
Yeah, it's called playing down to the level of opposition. The Eagles do a lot of that, and they're being exposed that way this year. We've harped on the fact that they're continuing to outplay in the stats this season. They're coming on a 3-game losing streak, and you want to lay double digits with a team like this? It doesn't matter who they are. Just put tape over everything I just said, and I would not lay double digits with a team in this condition. So to me, it's either take the Raiders or pass the football game, and I have to wait for the Eagles to prove to me that they can win conventionally, play a clean football game, and before I want to get back on their path here. They can do that possibly. They don't play a whole lot going out. Vegas here, Washington twice, one tough test against Buffalo. So we'll see whether or not they can become the Philadelphia Eagles of last year as opposed to what we've seen so far this year.
Yeah. The schedule says with these 3 out of the 4 opponents that they should be okay, but I just don't see it. I mean, Jaden Daniels looks like he's probably going to come back and play at least once.
Why, Greg? Why would you?
I know it's ridiculous.
A franchise quarterback like that. Why would they do that?
Absolutely ridiculous. But if he does come back and play, even if he doesn't, Marcus Mariota is more than capable of having a good game against an Eagle team that's kind of struggling right now. So you would think that could be dangerous. And it needs to be if you're a Dallas fan, because Dallas needs the Eagles to lose a couple of games. And so the Buffalo game makes a lot of sense, but that means you're going to have to lose at least one more. And that would mean either to Washington or in this spot to Las Vegas. Much better shot next week when they're at Washington to lose. That's on a Saturday, by the way, the game at Washington next week. Okay, moving on. And Arizona, Houston. And I got to tell you, Mark, I haven't looked at their future. Let me see if I can pop it up.
You're talking about Houston?
Yeah, because the more I look at this Houston team and the way that the AFC has opened up, where are they? Where the fuck are they? Oh, there they are. 13-1. All right, so not a whole lot of value. But what I really like with them is that when you take a look at their schedule and what this team has done this season, Baltimore is the only non-division opponent that they played this year with a losing record. Okay, so that's how tough Houston's schedule has been this year, and they're on a 5-game winning streak. They have beaten the last 3 teams all as dogs. They've got Stroud back. They've got possibly the best defense in the NFL, and that's the kind of toughness that you want to see. They've got a lot going for them with the defense, with the coaching. I know people are saying Jacksonville's the favorite to win this division. No, I'm taking Houston. I think Houston's going to find a way to win this division. I don't know where they're going to lose again. But it's a big spread against Arizona here. But let's keep in mind, Arizona is 1-4 against the spread in their last 5, including 3 losses by 19 or more points. So they had a really good start to the season where they were covering a lot of games. They were in a lot of close games, but that's ancient history. That's a different team. This latest edition of the Arizona Cardinals over the last month or so has not been the same. And that's why I wouldn't have too much of a problem giving up 9.5 points.
Well, my main concern is this, and I'm a big Houston Texan fan with you. Their defense is for real. They've held 9 opponents to season low or second low yards this year, which is why they're ranked number 1 overall in the league in total team defense. But you hit it on the head when you mentioned before. They are coming in off 3 successive straight-up underdog wins in a row. And in my well-oiled machine, when you plug those numbers in, and teams who pull the rug on opponents 3 times in a row as underdogs and then dress up as favorites really struggle, and especially when they're favored by more than a touchdown. So that's what the role that I'm concerned about Houston in this particular week is. They're going to win this football game, but will Arizona revert back to the team that's had 7 losses by 1-score margins this year? That's the question to me. And if they lose and they do that, so they'll have 8 one-score loss margins, and Houston will win and continue to keep going on. Houston could conceivably, Greg, win every game going out. They've got this game. They got Vegas. They end up the season with the Colts at home. The biggest test is when they're going to travel to the Chargers to take on the Chargers. But this is a football team that you want to get behind right now ahead of the playoffs, because they're playing a lot like the Philadelphia Eagles did last year, in the sense that, 1, they're dominating teams in the stats, and 2, they're dominating teams defensively. Yes, their offense isn't the greatest right now, but their defense is carrying the freight right now for this football team. So for me this week, a win, no cover I see for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, they are still in a big race with the Colts, tied with the Colts. Jacksonville a game ahead. No more Jacksonville this season. But here's another one that goes against Houston. They're 1-8 against the spread at home when they take on a non-division losing opponent. Now, they haven't played any of those this year, but 1-8 in that role. Because historically, I haven't looked at the numbers, but they don't really. I don't look at Houston as a very good home team. You know, they've lost a lot of numbers the last several years that I recall. So I don't love them as a home team, especially as a favorite. But again, just how hot they are, and with Arizona looking like. See, this is the thing with Arizona. Remember when Jacoby Brissett, he first starts out the first couple of games, and he's looking great, and he looks so much better than Kyler Murray, and they won a game, and look at Jacoby Brissett, and then it's like, well, now you're seeing in the last 5 or 6 games why Jacoby Brissett is not a starter. Now, is he a really good backup? Absolutely. He's one of the best backups in the NFL. But he can't carry a team, and he especially can't carry Arizona. No Marvin Harrison. That means that Michael Wilson, who's got a ton of good games lately, will be the guy. But unfortunately, that means for an Arizona fan, Stingley, who's one of the top corners in the game, I'm sure is going to shadow Michael Wilson everywhere he goes. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's left with Arizona, because Jonathan Gannon, I got to believe his job's on the line. I think it's very important that Arizona not lose these types of games. Like I said, 3 losses by 19 or more in the last 5. They can't keep doing that if Jonathan Gannon wants to keep his job.
There's no question about that. No question at all. Let me answer John Z. He poses this really good situation here. He says that on Jim's tip, he got Houston at 800 plus 800 to win the division. Any thoughts on cashing in now or waiting until the game after the Jacksonville does? Do you take the profit now, or do you continue to ride with the team? Well, I'm from the school that maybe because I was born and raised in the projects and grew up poor and all those types of things, I like to guarantee myself a profit. And John, you have a real nice ticket with a real nice price with a team that looks like they can get there, but I would still cash in and take half of that money, put it in your pocket, and let the rest ride for you at a pretty good price. That would be my advice.
All right. And you know how strange it is that the Colts, I mean, can you believe this, that like 5 weeks ago, where they were with the odds to win their division, and now they're 22-1 to win the division.
Yep. What happened there, huh?
And they're just a game back. They're 22-1 to win the division. I mean, how do we know Phillip Rivers isn't going to come out and look like a great quarterback for the next 4 weeks and Colts come back and win the division? I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll find out this week when he plays his game. But wow. I don't know. That story is just so weird to me. I look, I don't want to see anything bad happen to him. I'm rooting for him. I'd like to see him play well. It's good for the sport. What's bad for the sport is if he comes out there and looks every bit his age. That wouldn't be good. So I hope they know what they're doing. That's all I can say.
I think the biggest concern for them is not even only so much of the quarterback situation, but the backup situation as well. The team is in dire straits. There's no question about that. And it makes the handicap in this game real, real difficult because in Seattle, you have one of the hottest teams in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Put this game at Indianapolis, let this all happen, and I would look to laying Seattle as a single-digit favorite as opposed to laying almost 2 touchdowns right now in the game. So it's difficult. We'll find out more about Phillip Rivers, what he's doing here, and whether or not this is the right decision he makes in blowing 5 years of waiting for the National Football League Hall of Fame because he's going to take the start on Sunday.
That is true.
Yep.
So that's why you would hope that they know what they're doing.
Yep.
And so maybe, I'd say, if you're again, I don't know what specifically way does John cash in now?
Well, there are options that sports books offer to price out, and you can take your money now on a wager that it looks like you're sitting in a real good position on.
Okay,
you're not going to get the big bang for your buck, but you're going to at least take some profit home with you, and that's the situation that he's talking about now.
So is that a better offer than hedging your bet by taking both Jacksonville and the Colts right now?
It's a better offer because it's a guaranteed offer. If you go the other side, you're depending on if comes and results. But this is a guaranteed profit, a guaranteed take, if you will, per se. So,
well, what I'm saying is I guess it's good that the Colts are 22-1. I'm just let me just put a for instance number out. So say $100 on 8-1 is 800, and then you've got the Jags, I believe, are a little over 100-1. So let's just say they're even, and then you got the Colts at 22-1. So if you put up 200 on the Jags, you would make you're now a plus 100. All you'd have to do is put like $50 on the Colts at 22-1, and you're still plus 50. So I don't know what the number is that they're offering, but that's kind of what I'm saying is that you take Jags and the Colts, depending on those numbers, that you could still make money off of this bet. I just don't know what the money he invested, and I don't know what they're offering him.
Well, you can reposition yourself, by going out and playing either of those two teams as well, and still have something left for half of your play then on Houston. But if Jim were sitting in here on the panel with us, he would say that depends upon your need in the game. Do you need to cash this ticket, or are you willing to live with the full value that you have with Houston at this particular price? And I think more professional handicappers would say we will live with the value we have at the full price. But again, I'm the kind of guy that comes from the school that says take a guaranteed profit. So it depends upon what school you're coming from.
And the more money that you invested in Houston, the easier it is to hedge your bet. And I would at least, if I was doing it that way, I would at least just put a couple of bucks on the Colts at 22-1. This way I've got 2 out of the 3 teams, because I don't have to put much on the Colts at 22-1 to get some money back.
But what happens when they lose this week, Greg, and all of a sudden they're then
it's over. Well, I don't know. I guess it all depends. Because what's Jacksonville's schedule like? Let's see. Jacksonville, after they beat the Jets this week, they do have the Colts in 2 weeks. So that is a matchup that the Colts, and they have Denver next week. So if the Jags lose to Denver and then the Colts beat them, then the Colts can lose this game and still have a shot. But Houston, where's Houston? What is Houston's last 3 opponents? I don't have that. Did you say the Chargers were one of their opponents?
You talking about?
Looking at let me see. Houston would be playing Las Vegas
the
at
Chargers.
The Chargers. Yep. And then the Colts. So they have a tough game coming up, and they do have the Colts. So the Colts are going to play these 2 teams that they're in war with. Both of those teams have a tough game that they can lose on the road. meaning the Colts can lose this game on Sunday, win out, and have a legitimate chance to win the division. So even if they lose to Seattle, what I want to see out of Phillip Rivers if he plays, I want to see something. I want to see that, okay, this is not a joke, that there are possibilities. And that's why maybe you're right. Maybe the best thing to do with the Colts then is just wait after this game and get 40-1 or 30-1. Yeah.
You remember when Rivers was in his prime, he was never really much of a scrambler. Okay. And I think we're going to see him playing in cement behind center.
Yeah. a lot of quick passes. Yeah. A lot of, that's, you're going to see a lot of hands up at the line of scrimmage from the defensive linemen.
Yep.
And you see a lot of guys maybe getting a little closer to the receivers because he's going to want to get rid of that ball fast.
Yes, he will.
Okay, so anyway, in this Jacksonville Jet game, it's going to be Brady Cook starting for the Jets. So it's the best of both worlds for Jet fans. We get to see a nice young rookie quarterback, and we get to lose. So it pads our draft stock.
It's nice knowing that going in, Greg. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, it's okay. Keep in mind the Jets have covered 5 out of 6 as a road dog this year. So they do have that going for them. They've also covered 5 out of the last 6 overall. But the Jags are on a 4-0 straight-up ATS run by 123-52. So they're playing their best football of the year.
Wow. There's some survivor pool business out there right now. We're getting to where teams that you just pick a winner, you win the game straight up and you can win, especially the Circus Survivor. And there are going to be a lot of people entertaining Jacksonville this particular week because of the Brady Cook situation.
Absolutely.
Jacksonville being on the run, the Jets, obviously not playing good football right now. So
yes,
it'll be interesting to see exactly how much money in the survivor pool that Jacksonville garners.
Baltimore, Cincinnati, and the Joe Burrow news kind of surprised me about. I never heard Joe Burrow speak like this. I kind of am willing to just throw it in as a frustrated. You came off a really bad performance. It wasn't like he threw 2 terrible interceptions. It was just goofy stuff, that never happens to him. And I just think he was probably just frustrated, all the injuries and the loss, because that would have been such a big win. If they would have beat Buffalo, they'd be right there. Now it's really going to take a little luck. I mean, I don't know if they have a chance to catch Pittsburgh if Pittsburgh beats Miami on Monday night. I think they're going to need Miami to upset Pittsburgh on Monday night for the Bengals to win out and still have a chance. So, and can you believe there's actually, now again, you might not notice this, but because I'm a Jet fan, anytime there's Jet stuff up, it'll be popped up on my YouTube page. And I'm now seeing these YouTube videos about the rumors are back between Joe Burrow and the Jets. And I'm going, what? Joe Burrow and the Jets? Where the hell does that come from? I mean, please, just I'm not even going to entertain such a move. But I'm kind of surprised that Joe Burrow spoke like this week.
Yeah, Joe Burrow and the Jets, come on.
Yeah, I mean, look, that would be like I'd run naked through a winter storm to get Joe Burrow on the Jets. I'll tell you that right now.
If Joe Burrow goes anywhere, Greg, he's going to a team that has a chance to win a Super Bowl. He's not going to go there to resurrect and build a program. That's for sure. He's close to 30 years old. So, he's more of the better days for him are in the rearview mirror right now.
And the Bengals, they don't trade any of their players. They're not going to trade Joe Burrow.
No.
I mean, they'll just say, okay, well, if you don't like it, just, do you want to play or not? You're not going anywhere. So anyway, what do you think about this game? Because they just beat Baltimore not too long ago, and they're going to have to do it again. But I just wonder about what I'm going to see out of Cincinnati this week after Joe Burrow's comments too.
Well, I think Cincinnati's in the wrong position this week. They just beat Baltimore 2 weeks ago. Baltimore is right now 2 games back out of the playoffs here. They need this game like blood. They get this game, and they'll be back in prime playoff position. I think this is a one-way street in this football game here. I think Cincinnati gets exposed for their defensive lapse. I think Baltimore bounces back up off the rug on Sunday.
The win too was a convincing win. They really just offensively, defensively, in their win a couple weeks ago over Baltimore. Baltimore 5-1 straight up versus losing teams this year. They are 1-6 versus winning teams.
Well,
I think we know where Baltimore is. And this is, wow, this line keeps going up. Why? Why does this line keep going up? The Charger Chiefs line.
Well, I think there's a lot of what is needed for Kansas City involved in this line here. And the Chargers did not look all that well. You still got this issue with Herbert and the other hand being injured, the injury situation there. This is getting real close to must-win time here for Kansas City. There's one thing that we wrote in the Playbook newsletter this week that I thought was really rather a nice find on our part. And Patrick Mahomes is coming off his worst quarterback game ever in his NFL career, quarterback rating-wise. Rating was 19.8 in that pitiful performance that he had against Houston last week. Well, in games when he's had a quarterback rating of 60 or less, he's bounced back supremely the very next football game. So if you give you give Mahomes his bounce back trend in this particular football game, the need that Kansas City has in the contest, and the fact that Kansas City's really playing better in the stats than they are on the scoreboard this week, I think there's a lot of reason people are backing Kansas City this week.
I mean, it just looks to me, though, to be a really, if you're looking for an upset line, it just makes all the sense in the world. You're getting 2-1 on the Chargers. And I look at the Chiefs as a team that even the last couple of weeks, I thought they were in must-win mode, and they still couldn't win. So I don't think it matters. I just think that it's just not a good year for them. And I'm gonna interview Charles Goldman, who does a great job as our chief analyst. I speak to him at least a couple times a year, and I'm gonna contact him. I want to talk to him, especially if they lose again this week, and find out really what in the world is going on. I know that the offensive line has had issues again, but is it that simple? Is it, offensive line injuries? There it is. It's the offensive line, because they're doing nothing. I mean, the offense, I don't understand. Like the last couple of years, this offense has not looked anything like the old Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes offense. And it's getting to a point now where it's like, what's going on here?
I can give it to you in 4 words, Greg, what's going on with Kansas City. It's called Super Bowl loser jinx.
Oh, yeah.
Love that. Are they suffering from it this year?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
A couple of things here. The Chargers stopped a 7-game Chief winning streak in the series when they beat the Chiefs week 1. The Chargers are 2-0 straight up this year as dogs. Week 1 against the Chiefs, and last week against the Eagles. They were both short dogs. The Chiefs have covered 9 straight when they take on a division opponent off of an upset win, but they're 1-7 against the spread as a division home favorite of 8 or less. Moving on. This is a game that we can go next. We don't need to talk about the Giants in Washington. Carolina and the Saints. And so Carolina has got great opportunity right now after Tampa Bay's loss to go 8-6. What do you think about this game, Mark? Because there are a couple of major conflicting trends that I noticed looking at your magazine this week that says stay away from the game. But the reason that I'm picking the game, and I like Carolina as like one of my top picks of the week, is just I'm just looking at it as Carolina's coming off a bye. They're a better team than New Orleans. I'm betting against the Saints winning 2 straight games, which is not usually what you see out of losing teams. And they're trying to sweep Carolina, which is also something that doesn't happen very often to losing teams. So I just think Carolina is the really good play here. But again, there are some pretty big trends that say just don't even touch this game.
Well, the one thing that in this Bryce Young turnaround we're seeing this season is he's doing what he's supposed to do, and that's beating bad teams. Go back, and he's on a run of 9-4 straight up and 10-3 to the spread against teams with a 500 or weaker record going backwards. So he's kind of becoming the quarterback he was expected to be, which is one of the reasons I think for their improvement here. They've also played really well the last 4 games in dome stadiums. They've cashed the money all 4 times in a row. My biggest concern is whether or not there'll be too much pressure on Carolina now that they have the lead in that NFC South. What will they do with the lead being road favorite in a football game? I don't think the Saints have 2 wins in a row on them. I agree with you. But I would look only at the Panthers side of this football game.
Well, here are those conflicting trends. The Saints are 0-4 straight up and against the spread as a home dog this year, and they're 6-15-1 in their last 22 in that role. But Carolina is 1-18 against the spread in their last 19 as a favorite when they take on an NFC opponent with a win percentage of less than 400. They're 0-1 roll this year. That's when they lost to the Saints the first time. So when I looked at those
that's
two,
a wicked number. 1-18 against 400 or less.
Yes.
Wow.
That's why I said I'm not touching this game. But then I was like looking for. I really didn't have like a game this week that I was like, I love this game, and so I just decided to go through all the games again with a fresh mind, and I just said, I mean, come on, Carolina's got to beat this. They can't be swept by the Saints. Come on now. So that's the reason I went ahead and took Carolina. All right. Anyway. A couple more games before we wrap up. San Francisco's got a much-needed opponent coming off a win, just like we said. So we would expect San Francisco to have no problem there. Big spread, though. Packers and Broncos. Packers are the 2.5-point favorite in this one, even though Denver is on a, 10, 11 game, 12 game winning streak?
Well, but they are the number 1 seed in the AFC.
The number 1 seed. Throw that in there, too. Yeah. Right. And they're getting 2.5 at home.
And look at Green Bay, Greg. They're coming off of 3 consecutive division wins and covers in a row. And what have they got on deck? Another division game with Chicago. This is a bad scheduling spot for Green Bay here this particular week. And I think it's a slap in the face that Denver's dressed up as the home dog here.
7-15, the last 22 is a road favorite for the Packers. So that's what you're dealing with. And believe it or not, as you look through the weather this week, the weather in Denver is 60 degrees.
60?
60.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, in Denver. So the games that you have to keep an eye on the most, you've got the Pittsburgh Monday night game with Miami at 20 degrees. You have the maybe some snow showers possible, the Eagle game. You got cold weather with the Giant game. You got cold weather with the Patriot game. 19 degrees with the Chiefs and the Chargers. 12 degrees with the Bengals and the Ravens, 10 degrees with the Bears and the Browns, but 60 degrees for Denver and Green Bay.
Well, hey, Greg, I'm from Cleveland, okay? And we know all about weather there too as well. And somebody sent me this report. I thought it was kind of illuminating. It said a weather report from Cleveland, snow possible anywhere from 0 to 145 inches.
Yeah, okay, that'll work. Let's see. I guess it's good. No, they're not playing in Cleveland. No. Okay, Detroit to Rams. This is a huge game. 6 points. This is the biggest spread that the Detroit Lions have had to deal with as a dog since the 2023 championship game loss at San Francisco. So it's a lot of points. It's 6 points. The Rams, meanwhile. See, this is the other thing to keep in mind with Seattle and the Rams. They're playing each other on Thursday night. So you do have to keep that in mind when you're going either for or against either the Rams or Seattle this week, that they might have, a really big game coming up that they're looking at just 4 days from now.
Yeah, and the other side has a lot of need in this football game, Detroit, to get themselves back on track in this particular football contest here. Nobody playing hotter than the Rams right now, but you're paying a premium because of how hot they're playing. If they weren't, this would be a 3-point spread instead of a 6-point spread. So I think there's value to Detroit in the football game. And that Thursday game in Seattle that you mentioned, I think is a point well worth noting.
By the way, the Detroit 1-3 straight up and against the spread is a road dog this year. Minnesota, Dallas, this is the Sunday night game. And J.J. McCarthy coming off clearly his best game of his career. We'll see if he can keep that going, especially since he's doing it against a Dallas defense. So who knows? Maybe we'll get a fun game to watch on Sunday Night Football. The Cowboys are 4-1-1 straight up at home this year, 4-2 against the spread. Cowboys basically have to win out, and they host the Chargers next week. So this is a must win for Dallas.
Basically, 2 teams opposite directions here, Greg. If it weren't for the Washington Commanders situation as it is, this Minnesota team is dying on the vine right now. They got that shutout win last week, albeit because of the Jaden Daniels situation. Dallas has won 3 of their 4 games since the bye week, covered 3 of the 4, won the stats in 3 of the 4. I can only look to the Dallas Cowboys in this game.
And then the Monday night game I referenced, which is going to be about 20 degrees for the South Florida Miami Dolphins to play in. It's only a 3-point spread. I like Pittsburgh in this one. This was actually the game I was going to take. I decided to take Carolina instead as my top pick of the week. But I kind of just feel that this 20-degree deal, I've seen it over and over and over again with Miami, and they do not play well in this temperature. And Tua, has he ever won in this temperature?
Well, here's what we put in the newsletter this week. It's an interesting fact, and I kind of dug deep to find this, but I did find it. Tua Tagovailoa has never won a game with the game time temperature at or near freezing, 36 degrees or less at kickoff. He's 0-5 straight up and 1-4 to the spread, 0-3 both ways when the temperature is less than 30 degrees. The temperature game time on this football game Monday night is expected to be 18 degrees. But you know what it'll feel like when the wind chill factor on a Monday night football game? Yeah. It's frozen fish for Miami on Monday night.
And Pittsburgh, keep this in mind too. They are 4-1 straight up versus losing teams this year. In the last 7 games coming in, 6 of them have been against winning teams. So they are battle tested against some really good opponents, and they're coming off their best win of the year. Now they get the edge, the weather edge on Monday night. They need to take advantage of it. Cincinnati, again, as I mentioned, and Baltimore, they need Miami to come through and upset Pittsburgh in this one. We'll see what happens. But Pittsburgh will be at Detroit next week and then at Cleveland the week after that. And even that game at Cleveland is not going to be an easy one, especially if Shedeur Sanders keeps playing well. So still a lot to play for in the AFC North. All right, that's good.
A good review on the NFL card this week, Greg, and we touched about the bowl games. We'll get deeper into them next week, obviously, once the bowl guides are out, draw a little bit deeper into the college bowl scene. But I think this was a really good show and a good touch of base for the fans that are listening.
Yes, hope everybody enjoyed it. Have a great weekend. Not a lot going on here on Saturday, but you do have the Army-Navy game. The bowl game kicks off later tonight. And then, of course, a full slate of NFL games on Sunday. So it should be a lot of fun. We'll talk more about it all next week here on ProLine TV. And hopefully we'll get Jim back with him taking the week off. So we're keeping our fingers crossed for that. So thanks for tuning in here once again to ProLine TV and the Orlez Football Network. And we'll see everybody again next